that you are the wisest woman that I have ever met, because only a wise person can create such a program with a huge life experience. So basically, I mean that you know what you are doing, and that is the most valuable thing.
Welcome to the Delight Your Marriage podcast. You're joining me, Bella Rose, as I dive deep into the beauty, power, and truths about intimacy. Learn not only the practicals, but the heart behind what making love is all about. Delight your marriage. Hi there. I am so grateful you're joining. Today we're going to talk to Alex. And I have got to tell you, I'm really excited because he's one that I highly respect and regard. And I've known him a very long time at this point, compared to most of the gentlemen that you hear testimonials from. He is, well, back when the Ukraine war started, we were in need of a tech and automation specialist. And I didn't know how to help the people of Ukraine. And so we made the decision to hire somebody from Ukraine. And that is Alex. And he has been absolutely amazing since we started working with him. If you can imagine, there were some times I was on a call with him where he was woken up by rockets going over top of his head, missiles. And that's the kind of horror that he was living through. He was just so incredibly humble, professional, focused, careful. I mean, he was so fantastic in his work ethic, but then just in our interactions, it was that way as well. But here's the thing that's so telling and hard to believe, really. I mean, just put yourselves in his shoes. So war is happening all around him. Just everything, people and loved ones and the normal of life is literally being bombed right outside of your door. I mean, here he is in the capital city during the most intense atrocities happening. And he and his wife were able to escape. They were able to get out of the country and go to Spain. And he was able to even get very quick permanent residence in Spain. And so they were there for just a couple of months. And then when the energy was shut off to Ukraine and there was even more horrific things that were happening in war, he and his wife decided to purchase generators and return to Ukraine with them to support orphanages, and then to give them food and to give them clothing and dozens of orphans because of Alex and what he did. I mean, this is, and now he's remains in Ukraine, so he's been there. I just want you to know the caliber of man that you are listening to when I interview. I mean, just imagine making those choices, knowing that you're returning to the horror that you left for the sake of others. It's truly astounding. It's truly astounding. Imagine like escaping from World War II, the fight, and then returning to it to help others. It's truly amazing. Real life hero right now. And so the story is that he worked with us for about 9 months, and well, you'll hear the story, but it's really fantastic because I love getting into somebody else's mind and life and understand who they are. And Alex has a different way of speaking than maybe you're used to. So what you're going to need to do is maybe instead of listen to this 2 times fast, if you're like me, I always speed things up, you might have to listen to it slower, and you might have to get curious about what what he said through a different kind of accent than maybe you're used to. But it is well worth it. It is well worth to hear where he's coming from, what he says, and just to be inspired and encouraged that even in the midst, if you're in the midst of a horrible situation in your life, changing your marriage is still worth it. Can you imagine being in the midst of war, literally, and working to change your marriage, and then it being worth it on the other side? So it is astounding. I encourage you and invite you to hear Alex's perspective. I think it's going to edify you and really give you a sense of perspective. So I look forward to inviting you into this conversation. All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yeah. Hi, Bella.
Hi. If you don't mind introducing yourself, who you are, and then maybe clarify how we met from there.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So my name is Alex, and I'm from Ukraine. And we met with Bella, I think it was 9 months ago. We actually started to work together. And these were like actually tough times for Ukraine and for all the people. So it was quite hard at the beginning. But yes, long story short is with you, Bella, we started to work together, and I started to look at what you are doing and how you do it, and started to read to read your testimonials. So what is the product? So firstly, I started to deep dive technically there, and when I have a free time, I started to learn what is happening and what is going on here. So just for my overall understanding on what I'm working with. Because I mentioned previously, it was quite a tough time, and it was quite hard to find the free time. Yeah, it
Absolutely.
took some time to deep dive into it. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh my goodness. You know what? I think it's actually been a year because our launch was last April. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I'm missing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you started the program, I think we were 9 months in. And so now I think we're at a year, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that. And I've said it before in in the groups, but I just highly, highly regard you, Alex, because not only, just for anyone listening, not only did Alex have to endure and is still enduring the ramifications of war, but God made a way that he and his wife were able to escape to Spain for a while. Is that okay if I mention, Alex, that?
Yes, totally fine.
Yeah. And so, so he was working remotely for us. And so he was doing a lot of the technical stuff. So he just so much of the technical things that I don't understand, Alex has been in the background helping with automations and things like that. But they escaped to Spain. And then just with the different challenges that continued to happen in Ukraine, they decided to return with generators to help different organizations there, including some working with a pastor at some point, and then also with these orphanages. And so you're now in Ukraine. You've been there for how long when you returned?
I think it's from November.
Mm-hmm.
It's the middle of November, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So anyway, just, if anyone listening, if you can think about living through World War II, being able to escape, and then deciding you're going to return with the possibility of dying at any time. So that's who I get to speak to today. I just highly, highly regard Alex, and am so grateful for him. And so just a little bit of background. So basically, if the listeners ever noticed that all of the people that work heavily into Light Your Marriage are graduates themselves. So most of the time they come in as a student, and they've had for many different reasons, and they've gone through the program themselves and they've seen such transformations. So we actually tried to get this tech position filled by graduates, and it just didn't go through. We just couldn't find that happening. And so when Alex filled a role almost at the 9th hour, the 11th hour, whatever the expression is, during our launch back a year ago, I mean, we just threw it all at him in the midst of everything that was going on in his own life. It was just astounding that he jumped in and with a very humble and positive attitude, which is, again, shocking given the context of his life, but has just really, really engaged and helped us. And so over the last year, over the last 9 months of working with Alex, and when somebody works with Delight Your Marriage, we really focus in on growth, and we have quarterly growth markers that we process through as team members. And so because he was such a important role in the organization, I invited him to start doing some of those growth quarterly reviews. And one of his goals ended up being about marriage and family. Do you remember that, Alex?
Yeah. So as you mentioned regarding this growth marker, I would say that it was a starting point for making a decision to start the course. Not the first one, but the second one.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah. When we had these conclusions and results to compare like what has happened during this quarter or the last quarter. So basically, as I mentioned a couple of times during filling out these growth markers or this form, one of the problems, and actually I liked it that you're doing it. It's a great job, yeah, and does great results. So yeah, and when I started to analyze here, one of the issues concerned the family and the family and the relationships. So it's attitude inside of it, and as I mentioned also previously, it was like a tough time, and it wasn't enough time just to stop and to think what is going on and if it's wrong, if it's not. So you're just going ahead, and you cannot stop here in these circumstances. And this form or these quarterly markers help to stop and to think, maybe something is wrong or something is missing. And one of the points was the family part. And one issue was that I didn't understand what is that there were problems inside the marriage and the family, and you didn't pay attention to it. And that is, I would say, the main issue, because if you do not understand the problem and you do not see the problem, you do not try to make it better or to resolve it. So basically, it helped to understand that, yeah, there was really a problem which should be resolved. Also, as I mentioned also previously, I was working on this course like for the 9 months. I mean, for the Delight Your Marriage, I mean, 9 months until I started this course. And I had more than enough time to make my own conclusion and the decision regarding, is it a good course? Do I want to go through it? So just to have my own opinion.
That's really interesting. Yeah. What was that opinion? What did you?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm working with like a lot of clients like who is launching the courses, and I would say 90% of them are really selling, like there is no practical background on it, so they're selling information. And I have seen like hundreds of it. But this course was one of the best which I've worked on. And that is why from your invitation, I decided to accept it, and I was glad to start this course because I've seen like what changes you did to other guys from the testimonials, and what you're doing, maybe some lessons, maybe some discussions during the call. So yeah, it helped me to conduct my own decision regarding it.
So, Alex, you are understating your whole. That's something about your self is you understate all the time. So, what I don't think people probably they wouldn't be able to know unless you described it. But what kinds of clients have you worked with, and like how much money have these launches created, and like all the different things, because obviously there's so many different types, but like what, just maybe give some context to your background of work.
Yeah, so I'm helping the course owners to or experts or consultants to launch their courses and to launch like quarterly launches of the new products. So basically, if you're an expert in something and you want to teach people, and you want to, in most of the cases, if you want to earn more money, you're starting to record the courses and start to sell it. But the main problem here is that 90% of all of the course owners and these consultants are selling just I don't know, they're selling nothing. So there is no, as I mentioned previously, there is no practical background. It's just information which you can take from the internet, and that's all. And you're paying just for this information. And yeah, here is, yes, sure.
Can I ask how much some of these launches are? Like maybe the most money that you've worked on with a launch that came up. Do you remember?
$50 million per year.
50?
Yes, 50.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. What is that? Are there others that are similar to that, or what?
There are others less, from 1 to 5 millions. That is why I had enough time to make my own conclusion regarding your course. So I have seen a lot of them, and
I am so amazed because the thing about Alex is technology is not my strength. There, God has given me a lot of grace to fumble through plenty, but Alex has definitely seen me at my worst on meetings, just stressed and concerned and all of that. So for you to ultimately think it was a good thing is pretty impressive. Awesome. So that's really interesting. What was it? Can you remember some of the processes? Because you have a perspective that no one else, coming into the program would ever have, really, because no one, because we've only ever hired anyone after they've already seen transformations in their own marriages. But here you had a back end view. You saw you saw me at my worst. You also saw how the program is set up in the back end. You see how we deal with privacy and data. You see even like the character of the people in our team. You really have a perspective that no one else would have, that has a potential to move into the program. Can you think about some of the specifics, maybe this would normally be an issue, but it wasn't, or whatever you kind of speak to in that area?
Yeah. So one of the things regarding where I had doubts in terms of your course is and data privacy, because your topic is it's very sensitive, and people are, I'm sure they are afraid to leave their information, and they are afraid to ask any of the questions, and they are always thinking, oh, if I will leave something, I don't know, something valuable for me, what will they do with this data? And what I was impressed, is that you decided to clean up all of the data like half a year, to remove all of the data. Actually, from one perspective, firstly, I was against it, because it's the main it's your active from the course, and the more subscribers you have, the more money you can convert. In your case, it's quite opposite. You are deciding if person doesn't want to receive any more emails, you will clean up this data, and so privacy is number one. Firstly,
and to clarify, can I just say one thing?
Yes, sure.
Cleaning up data means delete it, right? Is that what the word?
Yes, it's fully removing the data. And firstly, I was shocked because people are paying, I mean, other course owners are paying money for the leads, and you are just removing this data. So it was, yeah, I was shocked but now I understand why you are doing it, and it is right, it is correct.
That's awesome.
Regarding all other topics, regarding the technical part, maybe of the course, is I would say it's easiness in terms of technical part, because it's quite easy to onboard and to use it. You do not use any super technical stuff here in order to convert more people, to upsell them something. So you just have one main product, and that's all. It's super easy to use, but it's super useful. And yes, that's also one of the things which you're doing not like others do. It's simple, but it's valuable. And it is the core here if you want to achieve with a comparison to others, and if you want to achieve the results. So I would not say you do not care about the quality and so on. No, the product is qualified by in comparison to other people who are doing like $50 million per year, and they have a lot of money, and they need to do like a good picture of it. So they can invest money here, and they do it. So the picture is above everything. Well, in your case, the quality is above everything.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, thanks, Alex. Well, I'm so grateful. Were there any other things that you felt like almost it was helpful? Because I was actually extremely surprised when I saw that on your form. I was actually extremely surprised to hear that you had any interest in the program and all of that. And I guess yeah, I'm just interested in what was it that got you interested in the work?
Can you please repeat this part? What do you mean?
Yeah, I just remember, because you are kind of I don't know if the word is understated, but you really are let's get down to work. Let's, you're very professional, and let's, do the work. So I was just really impressed that you would even almost hint at the possibility of doing the program. And I guess, what was it that you saw as it being legitimate? Maybe that would be.
As I mentioned previously, yeah, as we are started, or I have started to use your forms, and I remember it clearly that on the first form I have mentioned that my priority number, or not number one, but priority number 2 or 3, was to improve relationships. And on the second form, I mentioned that I would need some sort of help in order to understand what is going on. I didn't know how to do it exactly, and whether your course will cover all of the things here, because I was not 100% sure like what is happening in the course. I didn't have this onboarding things, and I have like the top of it, but I didn't know the background because it's a program, and I didn't touch it. We have conducted like a clarity call, and before the clarity call, I have filled out the quiz. It's a quiz, yeah, which we were working on with you together, but I didn't fill out it, yeah, for the 9 months from my side. And
the marital health assessment. Alex is the brain behind the marital health assessment. If anyone hasn't taken it, take it. But Alex, it sounds like you finally took it for yourself, huh?
Yeah. It didn't came to my mind like to fill out this quiz, to try it out. The first thing which came up just after filling out this quiz is that I underestimate the points inside of the relationship. So I've seen this not like a big problem, but like a typical issue that all of the marriage has had. But after the discussion with you, and just after the call before the program discovery call, I've realized that, yeah, I was wrong regarding the points and which I've put for all of the questions. And then I finally realized that something should be done here.
Wow.
Or, yeah, it should be resolved and ASAP. Because during these times, like it's a war and it's absolutely new, and some things may go behind, and you just don't think about the marriage and so on. But the main trigger point here was that our discussions inside the family came to the question, like, is it better maybe to divorce or yeah, and that is why it was one of the like trigger points to accept this invitation and to start out the course. Because personally, I understand that wives, we do not want to divorce, and we just need to do something. And then, yeah, I've decided today to take this course finally.
Yes, yes. So, okay. So you got into the course. I was very tough on you in that clarity call process. And that was, yeah, that's right. That, just the discerning, it is a discerning process. I'm grateful that you really took the time to do that as well. It's a really important process, right? Would you say so? Like in reflection, had you not done that clarity call process, do you think your actual engagement in the course might have been different? Because you would have been like, does Bella really understand? Is this really relevant? Do you have any insight about that?
Regarding the clarity call, I think it's a must-have because it helps you to understand the situation, like in from another point of view, not how you see it, but how you, like a coach or like a mentor, can explain to you that these issues usually come up in marriages, and they of course should be fixed, and moreover, you know how to fix it. So it's a must-have just to understand like what is actually is going on inside of the marriage.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you got into the program. Yeah, any thoughts that you have upon being inside that you'd like to share?
Yeah, first of all, I have accepted it. I mean, like I have onboarded, and before the first lesson, two doubts have came up to my mind is are the first one is a language barrier. So as I am not a native speaker in English, and there might be some issues with the specific words and so on. So it might took some time in order more time in order to understand like the sense of what you are saying. And the second one was a cultural difference, because I'm from Ukraine, you're based in US, and there was like a misunderstanding in how it should help, because there is a different understand of different situations, and people act, or people in different cultures act in different ways. So there were two main doubts, but the first doubt regarding the language barrier has been resolved, because you're using quite I would say quite easy wording for understanding. It's a simplicity of the program and of the lesson, so it's easier to understand. So just after the first lesson, this thing like gone off, and that's all. For the second part,
Can I pause you just for a second about the language?
Sure.
That makes me so, so happy. I think it's Einstein who says, if you can't explain it simply enough, you don't understand it well enough. Or if you can't explain it simply, you can't understand it well enough. So I am so, so grateful for that, because I highly, highly esteem people. Alex, what do you know? 3 languages in total, or how many do you know total?
No, 4.
Yeah. You happen to know 4 languages. And so Anyway, so I think it's quite worth esteeming you for even engaging in English work, but then also I'm just very relieved to hear that. That makes me very happy that as a non-native speaker, that it was easy to understand the words. That makes me very happy. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, that's true. And regarding the culture difference, so the second issue or second barrier was resolved after, I think, the first class, or sorry, not the first, the third class, because you're mentioning like a basic and the general attitude of women's and the relationship between men and women. So it doesn't concern like the cultural difference. Yes, some people might be more emotional, some may be less emotional, but it doesn't concern only the cultural difference. It only concerns like the personality. And yeah, and that question was resolved like fully after this third lesson, when you start to understand that yes, women are and men are the same like in all of the countries, and issues are also the same in all of the countries, and the ways to resolve it are the same as well. So it doesn't matter whether you're from Ukraine, US, or I don't know, Canada or Africa. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
works
that's so
for all
encouraging.
of the countries. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I just love that. That's so exciting to hear. And affirmed, and it makes sense if it's biblical, but the Bible is supposed to be for all peoples, and so it's just so good to hear your firsthand experience of that. And I've got, as you know, some Ukrainian friends here, and it's just kind of right along. And my husband's not a native U.S. person either, and I've got New York City, lots of friends from all over the world. So it's exciting to hear that, firsthand, you not only could understand the lessons, but then apply it in a way that was relevant to your culture, which is amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So then in terms of actually implementing or witnessing shifts, you know what? Before I ask you about that, can I ask you about the way it was set up in terms of seeing other people, like meeting other people in the course and that kind of thing? Was there any either benefit or, in the way that it was set up that you wanted to mention?
First of all, I was like somewhat, I don't know, maybe more closed than open in terms of conversations, because it's quite hard to to discuss such sensitive topic with the people who you do not know. It's even hard to discuss it maybe sometimes with beloved ones or with your closest people. And now you need to discuss it like in a group. So yeah, it was really hard in the beginning. But then I have started to realize that it actually works. And it helps you not just to open in the relationships inside of the family, but eventually it helps you during just your your overall life. So accept the relationships. All of the things which you teach and which you're going to implement during the course, you can apply it like to all of the spheres in your life. And these things like group coaching calls, the MRG calls, accountability calls, it helps just to improve it. So to improve all of the things which you are teaching people. And yeah, my suggestion here is just to not to miss the classes, and to, if you have a possibility, just to meet for accountability calls, because it just helps. It helps a lot. You need to. It's some sort of as you are doing in the work, so you need to more practice, just to practice, practice, and practice. And these calls, like accountability calls, without it's not a coaching, just to call with other men, they also help a lot. So my suggestion here is not to miss the classes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful advice. And then in terms of, shifts for you in your marriage, do you want to share anything?
After the first lesson, I have started just to implement everything which you suggested. You like for the first week, for the second week, you are maybe you have some doubts whether it will work or not work. It's okay. It's normal. It's not just concerns this course. It concerns like your whole life, because you always have doubts regarding something new. But anyway, yeah, when you started to implement all of the suggestions and practical lessons, it helped a lot in order to be more open. Like as you were teaching the classes, women are more emotional, and they use emotions more than a man, while men try to be always serious, not showing emotions, and so on. And when you start to implement it, to implement active listening, to work on it, you become more open, and it actually helps a lot, not only in the marriage, but it helps a lot in the overall life, with relationships with other people, in the work, with the friends, and so on. Regarding the marriage, yeah, it helped a lot in terms of openness. So we started to talk more, and it helped to avoid unnecessary argues, which could arise. So it helped a lot, just simple discussions. And you started to talk about your emotions and what is inside of you. And the wife started to feel like more safe. It's what she mentions.
She said it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, it helped a lot. The most positive result here was, and is what I was impressed, that it actually affects not the relationship and the marriage. It affects like your whole life.
Wow.
And that was like the big surprise for me. Just to understand, yes, that you're working not only on marriage, but on the whole aspects of your life.
Wow. That is fantastic. And do you remember when you were in the program, if other students that were in the program with you, did they have shifts that happen in their marriage?
I would say that I do not know the people who didn't have the shifts. So everyone had it. Because
Yeah, go ahead.
the positive side of this weekly classes is that you give like a liability towards you and towards all of the people who are attending this class, in order to finish the course each week, to fill out all of the forms and to prepare to these calls. With a comparison, for example, if you will complete these courses like from your side, I would say it might have less effect, because in this case you are you do not feel any like some sort of, I would not say it pressure, but the understanding that you have to finish this lesson, and you need to be on the call. So it's like 1 hour of work, one more hour of work per week in terms,
Okay.
just attending the classes. So you know that you have to do it, you know that you have to be it, and you do not have any more options unless. So you just need to finish to listen to a new lesson.
That's right. Well, that's good. That's a good thing. Might as well commit and stay committed and actually do the thing,
Yes,
right?
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Commit. That is the right word. Yeah.
I love it. That's really good. Goodness. So amidst everything, because you work full time and you're living through a war, you're helping all of these orphanages and these kids, and you're doing so much outside. How did you have the amount of effort and time and energy to put towards this?
Mm, I had enough time just to think whether I need it or not. And when you finally understand that, yes, you not have to do it, but you need to do it. And I am pretty sure that everyone can find like 1 hour more per week to attend the class, and maybe 1 hour to listen to the lessons and just to start to implement it. So if you take a commitment to finish the course, you just do not need to afraid like if you don't have a time or not. You just need to attend it, and that's all.
Yeah.
It's not taken a lot of time. So you just need to practice like from more. You just need to practice. Sorry, to implement it in a practical way during the week. So
Yeah.
it's also a positive side, yes, that you do not need to spend like a bunch of hours per week in order to read it, to maybe write something. No, it's just a practical thing which you implement in your overall life.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is speaking from an engineer who is very, very practical. Actually, that's a good question. Was it organized in a way that made it simple to know, like, okay, here's the lesson, here's exactly what I'm supposed to do with it? Was that the format, or was it confusing? Like, I'm teaching you something, what do I do next? Was there, what was that like for you?
No, that I would say that was pretty much simple in terms of technical part. And I like that you do not open the classes, all of the classes like at once. So you open one lesson per week, and it helps to stay organized. If you want to re-listen something, you just go back and listen, but you cannot listen to another courses because you need to stay in one pace. And yeah, in general, I would say that it's easy to use in terms of understanding how it works. I mean, the technical part of it, and what to do next, what to expect. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm pretty much sure that everybody will understand it, because in our groups, I did not know, maybe I was the youngest one. Yeah, and there were people like me, or there were other people like 50 plus, and everyone understood it. So it's understandable for all people, like technical and non-technical.
That's awesome. Do you know there has been a couple of guys who's done the course that they had not sent an email before the program. Had never even sent an email in their life before the program. So yeah, so luckily they got on and it was just fine. They did great. So that's pretty cool. I love that, Alex. Cool. Okay. Well, do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to make sure that you shared about the program, or yeah, that somebody might want to hear?
Mm, I would say that do not postpone it if you understand that you have some problems, but I'm pretty much sure that you do not understand the size of this problem. So basically, do not neglect it and start to analyze it. And I'm pretty much sure that you will decide to go through your program and to decide to improve your marriage, and your relationship with wife. So just do not neglect what do you have right now, and just yeah, start out to fill out the forms to understand on what level you are right now, so you can have a proper look what is going on. Because the more time you try to avoid it, the worse it will be even for you, just for your overall life, and not just taking into account your relationships with wife. So it has an effect on all parts of your life.
And that's really interesting that you would say that, because the amount of stress that you must live and have endured for, as long as this has gone on, year and a half, maybe. The fact that you had enough emotional bandwidth to do this. I mean, I can imagine that's a big thing for a lot of people. Like, I can't, I'm trying to do da 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 da. How in the world can I spend extra time in this one focus? And I'm just curious what that was like for you to be able to spend the amount of emotional effort on this course.
It was, I would say it was quite hard at the beginning, because in my overall life, I try to stay, as I mentioned previously, it's all of them is, I try to stay more serious, not to show emotions, and of course, in overall situations, the war, it just made more effect here in order to stay more serious, because you need to be strong, and you need to make wise decisions here and to act fast. And yeah, it made some effects here in terms of emotional level. But when I started to go through this program, through the MR course, and when I started to implement all of the lessons, it just helped me to stay more relaxed. I mean, just to show you more emotions, to look on some of the things from another angle. And yeah, so as I mentioned previously, it helped. The most positive result here is it causes a positive effect not only on your marriage, but it causes a positive effect to you and to your entire life. And that is what I didn't expect. Such as, I would want to say small things, but such an obvious things can cause really positive results towards your whole life.
Wow. Oh, praise the Lord. That is so good. Amazing, Alex. Okay. Well, is there any final thing that you want to share, or something I should have asked you that I didn't, or just a final thought if you want to give?
I think from my side, it was it's all, yeah. You can ask any questions if you have.
It was great. This was awesome. This was awesome, Alex. You know what? Actually, I do have to ask you, because I want it recorded. You gave me a compliment. If you still mean it, you remember you gave me a compliment like 5 weeks ago. And I told my husband, because it mattered so much to me, but because anyone listening would know you by now. And the fact that you gave that compliment, if you still mean it, you can say it. But if you don't mean it anymore, because now you've gone through the whole program. But if you still mean it, I think it would mean a lot for people to hear what you think about the program and that part. Do you remember what you said?
About you?
Yes.
Yes. That you are the wisest woman that I have ever met, because only a wise person can create such a program with a huge life experience. So basically, I mean that you know what you are doing, and that is the most valuable thing.
That makes me so happy. That was really sweet and very kind, and I'm so grateful. And I think I really think that somebody listening would really at this point trust you and trust, if that's really what you think, that would mean a lot to them. So as much as I did want to hear it again, but the truth is, if that's really what you think, I think that is I hope that if somebody is feeling nervous for different reasons, by this point, I think they would trust Alex's, you're thrifty with your words, I guess. You're thrifty with your compliments. It doesn't seem like you do flattery. In fact, I had at that point, worked with you for 10 months and I had never gotten a compliment from you ever, ever.
That's true. Yeah, I won't. Yeah, that's true.
So it was I was very, very grateful for it. So Alex, this has been amazing. This was just an incredible conversation. Thank you for your time. As always, thank you for the work that you put into Delight Your Marriage. Thank you for the work that you put into this program amidst everything that goes on in your existence. And you are such a value here. So thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Bella, for this program and for this, I would say, opportunity. It means a lot. Yeah.
I also wanted to thank the Imar guys who donated to Alex and what he did for the orphans and so other things that he's working on to help others. And thank you, gentlemen. A lot of you were very, very generous to give and well worth it. So thank you so much. And yeah, I did have to ask that final compliment of Alex because I wanted it recorded. Isn't it vulnerable to ask for compliments? My goodness. But I also try not to edit these interviews because I really want you to trust them. I don't want you to think, I clipped things together to make it sound better than it was or those sorts of things. I just want you to trust there's hope for you. I want you to trust there's hope for your marriage. It's not smoke and mirrors. We're really witnessing God transform marriages here. And we would love to help you. So go to delightyourmarriage.com/cc and you'll go through a selection process, essentially. We'll listen to your story, get really clear on what's going on and how we can help you. And if we can help you, if we're the right fit. So to do that, go to delightyourmarriage.com/cc. And I highly encourage you, take it seriously. This is a heavy lift for our team. So make sure you're there on time. Make sure you've got your notebook or whatever. I mean, just a quiet, private space. And there's some, it's an intake form to fill out ahead of time. So just really take this seriously. It can change your whole life, but it starts by being prepared on the clarity call. Alrighty, God bless you. Let me pray for you. Lord Jesus, if this person is in a situation similar to Alex, maybe they literally are in the middle of war in a similar way, or maybe it is really hard. They're in the midst of suffering some way, somehow. We all have our suffering. We're all going through something. I pray that you would give this one hope, that even in the midst, it's worth it to prioritize their marriage. It's worth it. So I pray, God, that you would give this one hope in that way. And I also pray for Alex, that you would protect him and his family. You would draw him to yourself more and more, his family. I pray, God, that you would end this war. And I pray the gospel of Jesus would go forth in Ukraine and in Russia. Lord, I pray, Father, that people would turn to you like never before, even through this, that the glory of your Son would be revealed, even in this, in Jesus' name. I ask for all those men and women that are looking for hope, that their marriage could change and that it is worth it. I pray that you would give them that hope and give them the courage to take the next step. If you're tugging on their heart to take that step, I pray that they would. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you and have a wonderful week and weekend.